Hello everyone, Christy Giannoni back again with week 3 multimedia discussion board for MPA 540 public personnel management. And so this is something that I'm kind of geeking out on as a human resources professional. Compensation is a huge factor that affects a variety of different things in a public agency, including morale, budgeting, perception, labor negotiations. So I think it's great for individuals who may not be in public personnel management or human resources to take a look at all these different factors and what goes into compensation. So this was one of my favorite quotes that I saw the book started off with. Kind of gave me a laugh, but it's true. I may be unappreciated, but at least I'm overworked and underpaid. So that's something that's often a topic of discussion for especially public employers. So let's talk about compensation. So compensation is more than just base salary. And so there is a disconnect as people compare themselves with others because the other specialty pays like shift differential, education certification pay, those are often things that are bargained during labor negotiations. When you're sitting at the table, unions are bargaining for different things. So they may not be equitable across the board, especially if a public agency has, public safety like police and fire. They may be getting different pays that other employees are simply just not eligible for, like a shooting bonus or something along those lines. And then even discrepancies in what we'll call like our general employee group and our management group. We may incentivize our general group to get higher education and extra certifications that is required for the management job. So they're eligible for different type of specialty pays there. So it really kind of got me thinking about our early theorists like Gulick and Merton. And so Gulick was always looking at the division of work, right? And so how we can say that we're comparing, let's look at a management analyst. It's kind of a classification that could be placed in various different departments within an agency. But one management analyst could just be simply focusing on a department's budget and maybe a contract that they're overseeing. And another area, I'll use my agency for example, we have a transportation division that's overseeing a brand new train coming through the city. So they're dealing with the Gold Line, they're going to council, they're going to various commissions out in the public required to do public speaking. So while it's the same classification, if it's in different departments, that's where that specialty pay can come in. So skill-based pay is a merit system that often employees will just see as inequitable. They're looking at a person who has the same job title as them in a different department and saying, hey, why is this person being paid higher than me? And so I think that's where another theorist like Merton will come in, right? That trained in capacity. If there's somebody that's required to either take on additional duties, or those who stepped up and made their position more efficient, went above and beyond. And so those different pays can often be selected for those classifications. And sometimes good human resources and personnel management, they want those more general classified, instead of a transportation analyst or a library analyst, that management analyst title, having that general classification has a lot of benefits as well. But it's true, the effects of earnings, it has a lot of economical, social, and psychologically, effects on an employee of how they feel that they're viewed by their agency, their self-worth. It's a lot of it's a mental and it's emotional thing when people are seen, and that's the thing with public agencies, right? Our pay is transparent. That other individuals are making more than them when they have the same job classification. So that's where that perception comes in. And I think that it's the administration and human resources as leaders that can kind of help with that perception and the struggles. Because that fairness between current and past employees, is based on those 6 contributions that they talked about in the book, right? COLAs, which is basically the cost of living adjustments, longevity pay, merit pay, skill-based pay, bonuses. And so HR has to process these requests and ensure that it's actually equitable, and that we're not just trying to reward one individual for doing something that administration saw as being, compensable in some way. And so that internal consistency is really important, class and comp studies, so we can be transparent about what we're looking at, the fairness. And again, I'll say it again, transparency is so important. I think this is where we help to stop. Well, I won't say stop because I don't think it ever stops. So it'll help us with that disconnect as people compare themselves with others. And I think that that is where the burden of human resources and the managers, Henry Fayol talked about that, the role of the manager. and what has to be taken into consideration when we're looking at increase. There's a lot of factors that people don't take into consideration: FLSA, PERSable compensation for those that are in CalPERS, Flores, which was a case law that came down that made calculating overtime, a little more complicated. So it's not just, the ability to give individuals extra pay, it's what those consequences are and the compounding cost over a certain amount of time. But when we can start to have those conversations with our managers so they have the understanding, they can talk to employees about that, I think that's where that comparison can at least be, thwarted a little bit, so it's not just so much that, one person's getting more pay than I'm getting. So I think transparency in an agency is one of the biggest factors that can help with this. All right, so that's a little bit about what human resources has to deal with and look at and take into consideration. It's a lot of different factors. And so it reminded me of this, proverb, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. So I think focusing on why we're doing the job, of course we want equitable pay, of course we want to be appreciated in our agency, but being a public servant, we kind of have to take into consideration why we got into the work that we're doing. So thank you to everyone. I hope you have a great and blessed week.